Recently, I've been working with the sales team to help them automate all the admin work that they have to do after a sales call, updating the CRM, filling out the end of day report, basically all the annoying things that salespeople don't want to do. One big challenge has been trying to find the right transcription service, something that is accurate, can handle high volume, it's pretty cheap, but it's also really good with security, which usually cheap and security don't really match. In this video, I want to break it down. I want to show you exactly what I did, all the research that I got up to, and how I made a decision about it. And hopefully it can save you a ton of hours in terms of your research if you need to do a lot of transcription. The first thing I want to cover is accuracy. So when you Google AI transcription, there's a lot of companies that say 99.8% accurate, 99% accurate. This is really snake oil. There's no transcription service that is that accurate. It's just not possible with the tech we have. A human can do 99.8% accuracy, but AI cannot, okay? And here's my proof. So I found this very, very amazing video. Here's the results of it, okay? So what we're looking at here is this is the word error rate as a percentage, okay? So this is 10% error, right, through the transcription, 20%, 30%, 40%, okay? Gemini, Assembly AI, Whisper, Amazon, DeepGram, Microsoft, Google, these are all the big companies, right? Like not even big, humongous companies that are working on AI transcription, and they are getting accuracies of like 90%, 93%, 92%, which is good. Like that's amazing. But if a company says 99.8%, do you really think they're going to be better than Google or Amazon or Microsoft? No, like they don't have the resources. They don't have the team to train the models. Like they're probably using one of these models as a wrapper for their transcription service, which is totally fine. But don't expect 99.8. If someone is saying that it's super duper accurate like that, for me, it sounds fishy, right? Like I don't really see how they could possibly have something so accurate if the big companies aren't getting that accuracy. The next thing you need to figure out is how much volume you're going to be doing. If you're doing a lot of sales calls, then you're going to have a lot of recording time. You're going to have a lot of minutes. And a lot of the services out there, they have a very cheap price. Like they might have like $20 a month or something like that. They say it's unlimited, but it's not actually unlimited. So some popular ones I found, Otter AI, Fireflies AI, Rev AI, they're pretty good. Like they have a very good service and they're very popular, but their limits are 6,000 per month, like 6,000 minutes of recording per month that they'll transcribe. Fireflies had a rate limit of 3,000 and Rev AI had a limit of 6,000. If you do the math, so let's say that you have a sales team and each person is on the phone for a length of 4 hours per day, which is probably like on the higher end of things. And then they do 5 days per week. And let's say you have 10 salespeople. Then if you do the math on that, then you're going to have about 52,000 hours per month, right? Which is a lot more. If you lowered that, let's say you had 2, right? Like 2 hours on the phone per day, you're still going to be doing 26,000 minutes per month. So if you want to transcribe everything and then, use those transcriptions to calculate metrics and like understand what's going on in the team and how many offers have been presented and how many were closed and, just all the other amazing automation things you can do after the transcript, you need to know that these services are going to have limits on how much you can transcribe. Now, one option, if you're using something like Go High Level or Close.io, you can do transcriptions within their service and those would be unlimited. So that's probably the good option if we were just looking at volume, but I'll get to price in a moment, which may surprise a few people. So you have to figure out how many minutes you're doing, how many minutes you want to record. Most likely, if you have a relatively decent sized sales team, you're going to be hitting over those limits. Okay, so the next thing we need to discuss is price. So let's say you're doing a very high volume of calls and you need to record and transcribe all of them. Well, if you do that through your CRM, which you totally can do, and it's the most convenient option, you are paying a premium for that convenience. And I just wanted to show you what that is now. So if we go back to our numbers, we've got 4 hours a day, 5 days per week, we've got 10 sellers. that means we're going to be doing a huge number of minutes per month in terms of recording. If you use the cheapest option in terms of CRM, that was at 2 cents per minute. Okay, which sounds really cheap, but when you do the math of that, that's $1,000 a month in terms of transcribing all of the recordings. And on the higher end, I saw things like 3.5 cents per minute, which would be almost double, right? So you would be paying roughly around $2,000 a month, maybe slightly less, just to transcribe the audio, okay? Nothing else in terms of automation. And that is a huge amount of money to be spending on transcription. So what I did was look for different options. If you can do some sort of automation, you can really drop this. And what I provided here are 3 different models that do speech to text for transcription. And as you can see, if you use something like OpenAI Whisper, the price for this amount of volume would be $312 a month. Now there's other ones. So DeepGram was another one, and that's $224, so even cheaper. And then the cheapest one that I found is Assembly AI. So their universal model, which can do transcription for recordings pretty well, that one you'd be paying $130. So if you want to reduce the bill by 90%, then definitely check out Assembly AI, because that's going to save you a ton of money. And the final point that is very important for sales calls is that in sales calls, there's a lot of sensitive information. So people will tell you about their conditions, and they'll mention names and locations. They might mention medication that they're taking. You might get someone's credit card details and the security pins and all sorts of things that are very sensitive. If you upload those to ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the AI models that exist today, firstly, they recommend not to do that. Like, they actually say in their privacy policy and everything, do not upload sensitive information. It's a security concern, and it's also something that your clients will really hate. And if there was a breach, like for example, a few months ago, OpenAI accidentally released all of their chat to the world, right? They started indexing chat, which was pretty bad look for them. That is going to cause you a lot of problems if you are just dumping your transcriptions with all the confidential information into these models. So what we want to do is create something that is a little bit more secure. If you want to use something like OpenAI to have added security, they do have something called data retention or zero data retention, but that is only available for enterprise users. So if you have an absolute mammoth amount of money that you want to spend on an enterprise account and getting approval so that they don't store your data, you can do it, but it's going to cost a ton of money, right? Which sort of makes the savings that we would have in the previous section completely redundant. The second option is that you have your own AI model that you host on your own computers. This is also really expensive, and it takes a lot of setup time and maintenance, has a lot of different challenges, which I wouldn't recommend for most teams to get into unless you're a big company and you're totally okay with spending the money. And you really need that extra security, right, for whatever compliance that you need. The third option that I found is something called Redact Pi. Now, Redact Pi is a feature that some of these transcription services have, which allows you to mask all of the sensitive information in the transcription. So what happens is you upload your audio file, and then when the service is transcribing it, you have a setting that you can set, which will remove things like credit cards, organizations, locations, names, pretty much anything you want that's sensitive that you want to anonymize, so that when you have your transcription, you can feed it to ChatGPT or any other model you want, and it will be able to extract all the information and summarize and find out how much cash was collected and all the stuff that you would need to do after the sales call. You can then freely use it with ChatGPT. In order to find a service that does redaction or Redact Pi, I found that I couldn't find on OpenAI whether they do it or not with Whisper. If they do it, then let me know. But the ones that I did find were Assembly AI and DeepGram. So they both do redaction. And the redaction cost was this. So it's like very, very small. So it's like 0.13 cents per minute of recording for Assembly AI. And then DeepGram has $0.002, right? So it's like 0.2 of a cent per minute. So it does add to the fee, obviously, like the bill that you're going to have to pay. But at the end of the month for Assembly AI, if you want your transcript to be anonymized as well as transcribed, then you'd be paying around $199 per month for this amount of volume. DeepGram, again, that one is 328. So the last thing, the most important thing that I discovered is about whether these services use your recordings to train their models. Now, what they say about this is they say that they mask everything and they make it anonymous, which I'm sure they do, but nonetheless, if you don't want these companies using your transcriptions and recordings to train their models, then this is the way that you can get around that. Okay, so for DeepGram, I found that you can opt out of model training. You need to kind of add this parameter in there in order to do so. However, what they said is that you will forego their 50% discount on the rates listed on your signed contract or on DeepGram pricing, okay? So what that means is that instead of paying $328, you're going to be paying $656 if you don't want them to use your data for training. So I was pretty disappointed by that. Like, that sounds pretty bad. If that's their business model, that's their business model. I'm not going to change it. So Assembly AI, what I found out, do they use your data for training? They say that they anonymize things, but the short answer is yes, they would use it. Now, there's ways to get around this. And the first way is that you send them an email. So you say, I want to be opted out. I don't want you to use our data for model training. And I'm guessing they would comply with that. But the other option, which is easier, is that you can use the European servers, okay? So when you set up an automation with them and you send requests to do transcriptions or uploading, then what you can do is change the server. You send the request to their European server, and then if you do that, then the data that you upload and the transcription are not used for training. As far as I can see, there's no extra charge for doing so. And that is how you can get your transcription cost down if you're doing high volume recordings and transcriptions for sales calls. So what did I go with? As you can probably guess, I'm using Assembly AI to do the transcriptions. If you want to use Assembly AI as well, then I have a link in the description which contains a guide for you to set up your own automation to start transcribing your sales recordings with Assembly AI. So give it a look and set it up and let me know if you have any questions about that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.